with that, let me make sure my screen is shared and set properly. Okay. Boom. So I'm going to talk about, well, recruiting and an introduction to it, you know, what it is or what it means to be a recruiter. What does RITA mean and stand for? The importance of it, a good recruiter mentality. And with that, just kind of giving you ideally some vision so you can understand really the capability, the skill that you're going to develop and what you will be creating as you develop this skill, and especially when you get better at it. So with that, what it means to be a recruiter and you know, what is hashtag RITA? RITA stands for recruiting is the answer. Recruiting is the answer, and you've already been starting to hear it, especially through various parts. You know, Mike even made the emphasis with yellow telescope. And so with that, being a recruiter, what it means is that you can sell the vision. You can sell the idea that you can be the person that brings on the best of the best to then create the best of the best. The man or the woman that lays the foundation and piles on the bricks that make up the skyscrapers. The recruiter is the human filter to every business. The recruiter is the gatekeeper. This, as a recruiter, you are the first instance of culture and of family to an organization. That's what the recruiter is and what it means. And so with that, emphasizing really the importance of. And so the ABRs. Has anyone ever heard the ABCs of sales, like ABCs? Okay, kind of in between. So if you don't, this is definitely worth writing down. So the ABCs of sales means always be closing, right? When you're working with customers, always be closing, soft closes, those yes questions, right? Always be closing. So ABRs, right? When you're ABR stands for always be recruiting. When you're a manager, and so I want to really emphasize this, when you're a manager, you transition from selling Cutco to selling Vector, like Mr. Evans had said earlier. So instead of the ABCs, it's all about the ABRs. Always be recruiting, because recruiting is the answer, right? Recruiting is the answer. I mean, if you notice this, as I said, as you transition from selling Cutco to selling Vector, selling, right? That's the repeated word in this. Selling is a skill set. Selling is something that you do all the time. When you talk to your family, your friends, job interviews, business pitches, the conversations that you have with yourself every morning when the alarm clock goes off, the conversation you have with yourself every night when you still have a few other things you know you need to get done before you actually go to sleep because you get your things done, right? That is a skill set that you're developing. And so when you have to make those choices of whether or not you want to or will do. So the importance, not just of selling and developing the skill set, but specifically the importance of recruiting, because our business, Cutco, and especially as a manager, is a recruiting business. We are a people business. It's not the product, although Cutco is incredible. It's not the service, although we do transform the experience of people's lives in the kitchen. It's the people. We build and develop great leaders. To do that, we need to always be recruiting. And you can write this one down into your notes. Big development equals big CPO. Big development equals big CPO, because recruiting is the answer. And so if you're a sales rep and you're not selling as much as you want to be selling, you need to recruit more leads to call and sell to. If you're an assistant manager and your paycheck isn't what you want, or your coaching calls aren't exciting you, or your team culture isn't fun for you, or your branch or district manager, if you're an assistant to them, is kind of riding you to fix these things, you know, remember to always be recruiting, because recruiting is the answer. if you're a branch manager or you're a district manager and your branch or district is not producing the results that you desire, and especially my staff, this was myself at the end of May and beginning of June. And I actually had a good tip from Mr. Evans, and I got right back on it because I was not happy with where we were. And if you're not producing the results you desire, you're not having the fun that you want, you're not excited by your team or the culture, recruiting is the answer every single time. Every single time. If you're a doctor, if you're an engineer, a politician, an entrepreneur, a teacher, a mother, a father, your ability to recruit people to your ideas, to your lifestyle, to your product, your service, you have to remember that for everything, recruiting is the answer in everything that you do. So when you truly understand the importance of this and you really take this seriously and you make your selling and your recruiting ability your focal point to skill development, here's what's going to happen. You're going to start to take on and have pictures like this, memories like this, where I saw and became, this is my best friend or my roommate for many years, and Mr. Evans as well, very, best friend. This is Rob Rodriguez, pilot sales manager now, and we went to high school with one another. And then with that, and I'm going to talk on this a little bit later as far as being your own trophy, but Rob. And then I think of Adrian Arredondo, who him and I played water polo together. Him and I were 2 years apart, and we weren't necessarily that close per se, but I happened to just see him out and about at a graduation ceremony. Kind of said, "Hey, how are you? Yeah. Hey, man, dude, what are you doing this summer?" Like, "Oh, I don't know." I'm like, "Hey, man, are you happen to be looking for a job at all?" And I just asked him, because you don't know if you don't ask. He's like, "Yeah, actually, I have been." And I got his phone number right there because I didn't have it. And I texted him, I followed him up, and I closed him on coming in for an interview. And then he came in for the interview, and I ran his interview, and I sold him on Vector. And then he went on and had a 13K fast start, became a badass assistant manager and a badass pilot sales manager. This is Eric Palacio. Him and I went to middle school together and high school together, and then went to FSU together. And I was just posting on social media, actually not even for sales, just for more receptionists. And he reached out, I was like, "I don't want to be a receptionist, but I know you do the sales job." Because he saw me be successful my first summer, and he saw that I was doing my thing. And then he came on, he didn't have a 10K fast start, but he went on to sell, I think, 30 grand for the summer, became a leader, and became a branch the following summer. And then this is his branch team. Because I made recruiting the answer every summer when I was an assistant manager and a dom and a branch. And then he impacted his own team, and he impacted the lives of so many others. This is my cousin right here, Olivia Diaz. Right there at the end, and I'll give a little tip on how do you get more PRs. But she came on, she had a 10K fast start, and she crushed it. And she was in TLA for a year. Now she's in her own dancing, and she does belly dancing, and she's super involved, and she's going over to med school now. And Amy Rad, her and I, we didn't go to high school together because she went to our sister school. But Amy Rad, I had asked her, and I reached out to try and recruit her 2016, and she didn't. 2017, and she didn't. 2018, she finally did, got her in for an interview, and I ran her interview, and I sold her on it, and she went on and sold 92 grand, was the #3 scholarship winner for that summer. And then she won another scholarship the following summer. Everyone here, I was a lead recruiter in 2018 and 17, running all the interviews. And with that created this epic TLA, a lot of the people that you see now. This was our 3P, 3 years in a row. I was working just as the lead recruiter, running a lot of the interviews. And maybe not all of them were per se my PRs, but several of them were, like Rob and Adrian and Eric and Amy. And then from Rob came Naomi, right? And then a lot of more others came around. And I even think of here, this is our staff, 2018. These were, and I have 3 of my PRs. This is one of my friends, Max Melgizo. Him and I just partied a lot in high school with one another, and I ended up recruiting him in 2018. And then he's one of my PRs, and another one of my PRs, and another one of my PRs, and then Marley, and then this is my cousin Olivia, and then this is Eric's, this is Marley, who's a branch this summer, and this is a PR chain that you develop and you create. And then it continues. Because then you create championship organizations. Because then when you win the trips, when you're a good recruiter, you hit the trips. You go to Cancun, you go to the different places. This is another one of my PRs, Eddie Diarcos. Him and I went to high school with one another. We weren't necessarily always super close in high school, but we kept a good relationship. And he saw my success and he stuck with it. And this is Gabe, and he became one of my good friends. And Carlos, him and I started the same summer. And this was Cancun, and this was my PR, and Mr. Evans. And then Marley, who came from Eric, and then Adrian with Nicole. And then this was Gabe Campo, another one of my PRs, one of my PRs. And then from this comes the chain, because then from Campo came Moises. Alex Alaman and Carlos came from our high school, because I had been recruiting so much of my high school that Columbus, my high school, everyone would work with us. We recruited, I think Mr. Evans, was like 100 guys. Because when you start seeing something like this, where it's not that one, I'm going to come back to it. There's, right here, where you see 5 generations of the same high school. When you take recruiting seriously, when you make it a focal point, because this comes back to a good recruiter mentality. And I'm going to show those pictures again. Because you cannot, and you guys can write this down as a quote, not to run this job through, but to run your life by. Because this is what I did, and I always run with it. But you cannot and you will not ever recruit anyone sharper than you. Period. You cannot. And so always hit the trips and the contests and take advantage of the PR credit opportunities when they come around, like the cruise into the Bahamas. Unlimited PR credit, take advantage. I won all these trips through PRs every single fall and spring. Because they also say a lot of business is timing. Because time moves and things change. People's circumstances change. I had one of my friends in high school, his name's Robert Catala. He was on a do not call list. And for 2 years, he said no. And on the 3rd year, I was just hanging out with him one night. And then he came on and he became one of our top performers that summer. And so if they say no once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, ask again anyway. And if you've ever been accused of like, hey, that's just a scam, it's a pyramid, it's an MLM, great. Now, keeping that in mind at the same time when it comes to recruiting, don't come off like it's a pyramid either, like it's an MLM. Like, recognize the value that you get from this business and share the value, share the opportunity. Sometimes though, finding those words can be hard. Like, what do I say? Ask your manager for the recruiter script. We all have a selling Cutco script. There's a selling vector script. It's called the group interview. Same thing. Because coming back to the ABRs here, something my cousin would always say is that he just had never known someone that loved their job quite as much and spoke about their job as much as I did, and I do. And I'm not saying that you need to be like me, but share that you love where you work, and people will want to work there too. And this is what that creates. This is another one of my PRs, Alex Gonzalez. And he didn't stick with us for a long time, but he was here. And and through that, he was able to enjoy the opportunity and what sales and vector opportunity offered him. And then he moved out to California, and now he's a lot happier. And this is the team that we created in 2018, the team we created in 2017. Lewis, another one of my PRs. These were all mine. When you get really good at recruiting, it doesn't even matter your age anymore, because you can even have a badass like Kathy that comes on. A badass, a 55, 56-year-old mother that can trust in you because they can see that you know and believe what you're selling. Vector, the opportunity. And you can create CSPs out of thin air. And so with that, be your own trophy. Be your own trophy. You are your best and your worst critic. But be your own trophy. And so then with that comes, be desirable and be well liked. I always remember this. And for those that, if you don't know me as well, growing up, it's funny, my cousins would ridicule me for my social anxiety, my inability to speak with people. I'm highly introverted. If you think I'm extroverted, I'm not. I very much like my time alone and not talking to people. And I struggled socially for a long time until I got sick of it. And I remembered seeing this one quote, I don't remember from where, but it forever stuck with me. And imagine the person that you would most want to hang out with. Now be that person. Imagine them. Let yourself and your mind roam free. Imagine that person that you'd most want to hang out with. Be that person. And when you are, things like this start to come around. When you get good at recruiting, you find families anywhere you go. Hell, you create families anywhere you want one. When you get good at recruiting, unanimously, your entire pledge class will decide that you should be the pledge class president because you can create that energy. When you get good at recruiting, and if you start to see similar faces on any pictures, you can create a business from scratch and get anyone to run with it. Just wanting to post it onto their social medias because it just looks so fun because you get good at recruiting and selling any opportunity. And you join other organizations, you join other communities, you put yourself out there. I remember especially to show this, you know, when you get good at recruiting, you can make a movement. You see a problem in your community and you can make a movement. And this was one. Let's see if I can get this thing. Hey, we wanted to come out to you guys today with this quick video from our ragtag group of team we call the Legacy Party. We wanted to say just really how excited and thankful and happy we are with just how well this year's election cycle turned. And so this was when I had campaigned for student body president. But with that, you know, after 3-4 years of doing nothing but running interviews and selling Cutco, and then getting involved into all these different organizations and creating other ones, and just going out into the community, you can lead movements. You can start anything you ever want because people flock to that when you focus on recruiting, when you become your own trophy. But better than that and more important than that, especially, is more important than that is being that for others. Because then the question becomes like, you know, how, for myself, I have 60 PRs on the team. And it's not me, like, and I'm pleasantly persistent. I always have been, but it's because I know that, like, if you trust in me, you're going to be in a good spot. I promise you that. I promise you that. Look at me. But better than that, don't look at me. Look at everyone else around me and how much that they have succeeded. And that people tie into. So then how do you get your own PRs on the team? Well, here's a list. Because now you're either a manager or you're going to be taking a managerial role. But
hey, Eddie, adjust it real quickly, or you can send a photo afterwards. It's doing the same thing it did to Mike earlier with the blurry now.
Better?
No.
I'll send a picture.
Yeah, that's fine.
But the skill set and the fundamentals, they don't change. Making calls for demos becomes making calls for PRs. Selling Cutco becomes selling Vector. Your initial list for your fast start becomes, and I know we all know how important that initial list is, it becomes your PR list. And every single campaign, I had another 80 names every single time. And so with that, you know, I'm positive everyone here knows, and if you don't talk to your manager, you know, go ahead and reach out to them, because everyone knows how to increase your initial list with brainstorming. PRs are identical. PRs are identical. Grow your network. If you're in college and you have 100 friends, join a club, join an organization, grow yourself, grow your network, and join various organizations. And all of a sudden your 100 friends can balloon into 1,000. And now you've got the list, you've got the PRs, you've got them set for the interview, but you can't just walk away either. For the majority of your PRs, this could be their first job interview, or they're just super nervous. And yeah, they're in college, and yeah, we're technically all adults. And I use the word technically because they're not and we're not. Probably the only one is Mike, and then Mr. Evans is the next best, right? And so I use the word technically because we're not, because be there for them, support them, encourage them, coddle your friends like delicate eggs every step of the recruiting funnel, and help them through their fast start to enjoy it at the highest level. And because that's not only how you get PRs, but that's how you make any future PRs even easier, because then you're no longer showing off your own success, but you can point out and show off the success of all of your friends and that trusted you, that took your advice, that you have the stories to carry, and why those next PRs should do the same thing and go in for the interview. And this is really why love is spelt #RITA. TA.
All right, let's get some snaps, some claps, some gangster daps, you know. Cuevas. By the way, RITA stands for RITA. Recruiting is the answer. You'll see that hashtag quite a bit. Man, Eddie, I got like chills looking at some of those photos as you were posting them. And also, it's just really cool to see like how much of this organization, this division you have built and developed literally out of your own network. You know, and one thing that I'll tell you guys right now is like your net, like, again, you guys have heard it before, circles of influence, your network is your net worth. Look, if you don't have PR, if you don't have PRs in the team, it usually means one of three things. It's either you don't believe in the opportunity, you're a terrible recruiter, or you're not a bad recruiter and you do believe in the opportunity and you just don't have any friends. You're not making new friends, and you should make new friends and be expanding your network constantly. You know, you're always, every single time you start semester, you're literally walking in and doing it in a class with different people. Just reach out to people. Hey, always be curious. Hey, what are you doing right now? What are you up to? When do you graduate? You know, do you have like good work experience? Do you need money? Do you need income? You know, Eddie was just always curious, asking a lot of questions. He was just a good recruiter and always seeking out to be that. And I liked what he said about, hey, the most important thing about being a good recruiter is not necessarily like the job description or how much money they're making an hour, or is it flexible or not. It's just like your passion and your conviction. You know, it's just like people, when people feel weird asking for recommendations, the customers feel weird giving them to you. Those of you all that feel weird recommending your friends, recruiting your friends feel like you're like trying to recruit them to some like pyramid scheme or something like that too when you ask, because you make it seem weird versus like, hey, I'm trying to go out of my way to help you out and help you get an amazing opportunity and coming from a position of leadership. So I love that. Thank you for delivering on that, Eddie. To wrap us up, guys, and take us home here, just final announcements. What's important now? Man, I think it's been an awesome first TLA prep. I really enjoyed getting some time with you guys. Hopefully you got a lot of goods here from today. Our next TLA prep will be on the 26th. NLG, I'm probably going to do, we will probably have a slightly different times for next prep. So I'm thinking NLG, we might do our session on Friday. And then TLA, we might start it a little bit earlier and do like a 10 to 2 type thing on Saturday, just so we can kind of protect people's Saturdays a little bit more, so we still have a little bit in the afternoon. So some details to come on that time, and a whole entire TLA syllabus is also to come here as well. Take 30 seconds. Go ahead and write down biggest light bulbs or takeaways from today. I'll have you guys post up those at the end of here. And while you all do that, I am forwarding a message into the chat right now that is going to help us execute for social media D-Day. So here's the text message that's been sent out. Okay. And a couple real quick things. What's important now? So I'm going to give you guys your assignments, talk about social media D-Day, and we'll wrap up. Number one, now is an opportunity to make a statement. So what's important now, number one, is make a statement for SLC push. Man, this is the first real push that we're going to have a strong opportunity in competition as a division to compete in at a national level. So I'm really looking forward to seeing people that step up and lead the way here. Again, it's all about pushing yourself around what you actually have. Some of you all, I expect to see some 10K push performances here. A lot of y'all, I expect to just see 2 or 3K push performances, you know, or just showing a valiant effort that you're getting some numbers up on the board and being consistent with your results here. So make sure that you have a PC with your managers, and that needs to happen by 9/13. So that's the urgent one. So managers too, just know that their assignments, they need to make sure that they have this, and a photo needs to be posted once you do your PC with your manager in the TLA page. So that is by September 13th, which is about a week out from now. The push starts on the 17th. Keep that in mind. And I'll go ahead and send these assignments to you all. The other assignments is to complete the love languages test. You guys already did CVI. Most of these you probably should have already signed up for money, honey, already got in a planner. So it's really just, hey, take the love languages test before our TLA prep on Wednesday. We're going to talk about love languages and mix that in with a little bit with CVI. We're going to talk about get your push PCs done. And then also before the 26th, we'll talk about journaling, and I'll have you guys watch a Jim Rohn video. The last thing is that we are going to start a book club. So we're going to give you guys a series of books to read throughout the fall. And NLG, you guys are doing a different list. So it's going to be a different series of books. I'll give you guys kind of the goods on that, put that in the NLG syllabus. The first book that we're going to read, though, is really, really, really short, and everyone's going to read it. Managers, it's just going to be a good reminder. I'll just go through it one more time. It's called The 1 Minute Manager. I'll have a little book form. I think it's like 20 pages. You can literally read the whole book in 1 hour, the whole book. Okay. Very, very short. It's very, very simple to the point. And we only have like a couple weeks between this prep and our second prep. The next prep between September 26th and October 24th, we have an entire like month before we have that one. So we'll have slightly longer reading materials for those that you can go through slower. This one's pretty short. You can do it in a single sitting or a day or two. And you can pick up this book. I'm pretty sure you can, Mike, can't you get the 1 Minute Manager like online? Just download the PDF, or they have a YouTube version of it too. You don't even need to buy it. I'm pretty sure you can just grab it online and invest in your journal. That's pretty much it for terms of assignments, guys. Last thing is social media D-Day is tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Okay. I'm in the Florida Caribbean TLA group chat, by the way. Oh my gosh. Okay. They unleashed it today. We're starting it tomorrow, but they did it today. And I mean, literally there's at least, I think they already have almost 500 posts up as a division since in the past hour, from people. So what you want to do today is that message that I just sent into the WhatsApp chat is a text message that you can copy and paste. Send that to people today. Tomorrow is when we'll do the post. So tomorrow at 4 o'clock, that right before our PSP meetings across the division is when we'll execute the post. So you'll see some messages from me, blow up our group chat right around 4 o'clock, and everyone should be posting up screenshots of any one of your friends that made a post on social media. But today you can start texting people to lock them down. Typically is text 10 people, you'll lock down 5 posts. If you want to get up 10 posts, just text 20 friends. You want to get up 20 posts, text like 30 to 40 friends. That's typically the metrics on what will be good here. And let's just make sure we're executing this. It's going to be good practice. And we only get one go at this, okay? You can't hit up your friends every week and ask them to post. So we can get one go. We usually do one like every year or one per campaign. So let's make sure tomorrow we really, really crush it, lead the way, and make some statements with that. You guys get buttoned up on assignments, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Ladies and gents, it's been an awesome TLA prep. Thanks for hanging out 5 minutes afterwards. Everybody, please make sure if you haven't done so already, you sign up for Rachel Richards' course. If you have a problem with that, just reach out to me if you have questions or concerns on any of that. Make sure you're buttoned up with assignments before our next prep. And make sure you're ready to rock and roll and execute for Social Media D-Day. Thanks for an awesome day, ladies and gents. I'll hang around if anyone has questions, but everybody else, you're good to go. Thank you, district managers, for helping with supporting and facilitating today as well. I'll talk to y'all soon.